Hello, Ms Wolfe's class. We're going to continue on with Christmas in Camelot. Chapter 6, A White Comet. Once the night was gone, the candles and torches in the great hall grew dimmer. A bitter chill crept over the room. "What do these 3 rhymes mean?" said Jack, looking at his notebook. "Who are the keepers of the cauldron? What's the secret door?" "I don't know," said Annie. "I just know we have to save Morgan." She gathered the red cloak up in her arms. "We've got our first gift," she said. "Let's go." "Wait, we should figure this out first," said Jack. "No, we should just go," said Annie. She turned and headed for the archway. Jack pushed his glasses into place and looked back at the round table, at the frozen king and queen, at the frozen knights, and at Morgan. He loved Morgan. She was their great friend and teacher. If he and Annie didn't go on their quest, Morgan's story and the stories of Camelot and all the stories about the magic treehouse would end forever. Jack took a deep breath. He put his notebook in his backpack, then turned towards the archway. "Annie," he said. She was gone. "Annie, wait!" he shouted. "Wait!" He ran out of the great hall. "Annie!" "I'm here," she said quietly. "I'm waiting." She was standing at the end of the entrance hall, peering outside. "How do we get to the other world?" she asked. "Maybe the treehouse could take us there," said Jack. "Come on." Together, Jack and Annie hurried through the inner courtyard of the castle, over the drawbridge. They ran over the frozen grounds to the moonlit grove of trees. Clutching the red cloak, Annie started up the rope ladder. Jack followed. They climbed inside the treehouse and sat on the floor. Annie picked up the royal invitation. "Close your eyes, I'll make a wish." Jack closed his eyes. He was shivering from the cold. "I wish we could go to the other world," she said. The bare branches of the tree rattled in the wind. "I think it's working," whispered Annie. The wind stopped blowing. Jack opened his eyes. He and Annie looked out the window. The dark castle loomed against the sky. They were still in Camelot. "It didn't work," said Jack, his teeth chattering. "Yes, it did," whispered Annie. "Look down." Standing below the treehouse was the biggest deer Jack had ever seen. The deer was staring at them with amber eyes. His huge antlers seemed to glow in the cold moonlight. Most amazing of all, the deer was completely white as new fallen snow. "A white stag," said Jack. Puffs of frosty air blew from the stag's nostrils. He stepped towards the treehouse and shook his giant head. "He's come to take us on our journey," said Annie. "People don't ride deer," said Jack, but Annie had already started down the rope ladder. Jack watched from the window as she walked to the stag and spoke softly. The stag knelt. Annie climbed on his back. "Come on," she called to Jack. "Bring the cloak." Okay. He gathered up the heavy velvet cloak, clutching it against his chest. He climbed down the rope ladder and hurried over to Annie and the white stag. "Put on the cloak and climb on behind me," said Annie. Jack pulled the cloak over his backpack. He pulled it around his shoulders and buttoned it at the neck. As the cloak fell down around his body, the soft, smooth cloth made him feel warm and safe. "Ready?" said Annie. "Yes," said Jack. He climbed on the stag back behind Annie. The white stag slowly stood up. Annie leaned forward, put her arms around its neck, and Jack leaned forward too and held on to Annie. The red velvet cloak draped over both of them, falling past their feet. The white stag stepped gracefully over the frozen grass. He walked through the outer gates of the castle. He blew out a puff of air and then broke into a leaping run. Jack held on tightly to Annie as the stag dashed across the frost-covered field. He jumped over hedgerows and stone walls. He bounded across icy streams. Annie's braids floated in the wind. The red cloak billowed behind them. Jack was amazed at how easy it was to ride the stag's back. Excuse me. He felt calm and safe as the stag sped like a white comet through the wintry countryside. The stag ran past flocks of sheep and herds of goat asleep in the meadow. He ran past thatched huts and quiet stables. The stag ran on and on through the starry night. Jack saw a cloud-covered mountain range in the distance. When they came close to the craggy mountains, Jack was sure the stag would stop. But he galloped on, not even breaking a stride, as he started up the rocky slope. The stag finally came to a halt at the ledge of a steep cliff. In a windy swirl of fog and cloud, he knelt to the ground. Jack and Annie slid off his back. The stag stood up. He stared down at them with his glowing amber eyes. "Thank you," said Annie. "Do you have to leave now?" The stag lowered his head and raised it again. He blew out a frosty puff of air, then leapt away, vanishing into the mist. "Bye," Annie said wistfully. She stared into the mist for a moment, then turned to Jack. "What do we do now?" "I don't know," said Jack. "Let's read the 3 rhymes again." He reached under the red cloak and pulled off his pack. He took out the notebook and started to read the first rhyme. "Beyond the iron gate." "Jack," interrupted Annie, "look." Jack looked up. The wind had blown away some of the fog. Beyond the cliff rose another mountain. A huge gate was built into its side. A pale light shone between the gate's thick iron bars. 2 knights in gold armor stood guard under flaming torches. "Oh, man," whispered Jack. "That's it, the iron gate," said Annie. "If we pass through that gate, we'll be in the other world." Chapter 7, A Good Trick. As the wind blew away more fog, Jack and Annie saw a bridge. It was made of thick wooden planks held together with iron bands. It stretched all the way from the edge of the cliff where they were standing to the iron gate. "Come on, let's go," said Annie. "Wait," said Jack. "What about the guards?" The 2 guards in gold armor stood perfectly still. Their large spears gleamed in the torchlight. "I don't know," said Annie. "Read the second rhyme." Jack looked in his notebook and read aloud. 4 gifts you will need, the first from me, then a cup, a compass, and finally a key. "The first gift is the Christmas knight's cloak," said Annie. "Yeah, I guess it's supposed to help us somehow," he said. He unbuttoned the cloak from around his neck, then held it out to get a good look. "Maybe it could make us invisible," said Annie. "That's nuts," said Jack. "Seriously, cloaks sometimes do that in stories." "Well, it didn't make me invisible, did it?" "Maybe you were wearing it wrong," Annie said. "Give it to me." "Oh, brother," said Jack. But he handed the cloak to Annie. It flapped in the wind as she pulled it around her shoulders. "Can you see me?" she said. "Yes, Annie," said Jack, rolling his eyes. "I can see you." He looked back at the gate. Even if we got past the guards, what then, he wondered. The other world swallowed up Camelot's best knights. King Arthur said it was filled with magic and monsters. "Jack, look at me now." Jack turned to Annie, and she wasn't there. "Where are you?" he said, staring at the darkness. "Cool, it works." "Where are you?" Jack said again, turning around. "Here." He felt a hand touch his face. "Ah!" He jumped back. "It's me. I'm invisible. I pulled the hood over my head. That's the trick." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. "Oh, man," he whispered. "Watch. I'm going to take the hood off." In a flash, Annie was back. "It feels creepy to be invisible," she said. Jack was speechless. "The magic only happens when you wear the hood. Good trick, huh?" "Oh, yeah," said Jack. He shook his head. "This is just too weird." "Don't worry about it being weird. It's a great way to get past the guards," said Annie. "Plus, it's a way to hide in the other world. We don't know what we'll find there, right?" "Yeah, right," said Jack. "Okay." "Good," said Annie. "Now, stand beside me and don't move." Jack put away his notebook. Annie threw the velvet cloak over his shoulders and the backpack. "Great, it's big enough for both of us," she said. She carefully arranged the folds around them. Then she pulled the huge hood over both their heads. Jack looked down. He couldn't see his body at all. He felt like he couldn't breathe. In a panic, he threw off the hood. "I hate that," he said. "I told you it's creepy," said Annie. "But if we don't wear it, we won't get past the guards." "Yeah, I know, and we won't have protection in the other world," said Jack. He took a deep breath. "Okay, let's do it." Annie pulled the hood up. "I'll hold on to the hood so it won't blow off," she said. "You just think about getting across the bridge, nothing else." "But I can't see my feet," said Jack. "You don't need to see your feet to walk. Come on, do it for Morgan." "Right," said Jack. He and Annie stepped on the bridge. "Whatever you do, don't look down," said Annie. They started over the bridge and the wind whistled around them. Jack couldn't help it. He looked down. Not only was his body missing, but the fog beneath the bridge was moving in a wild, swirling, spinning swirl. Jack felt dizzy and faint. He stopped. "Keep going," whispered Annie. Jack took a deep breath and looked straight ahead. Then he started walking again. He went slowly, step by step, towards the pale light beyond the bars of the gate. In the flickering torchlight, the guards looked like giants. As Jack and Annie slipped invisibly by them, Jack held his breath. "How will we open the gate?" he wondered. "Whoosh," said Annie loudly. Jack's heart nearly stopped. Had Annie lost her mind? "What are you doing?" he whispered. "I'm the wind," Annie whispered back. "Whoosh." Annie gave the gate a shove. It swung open as if pushed by the wind. Jack looked back and saw that the guards had turned in their direction. "Quick," whispered Annie. She and Jack moved silently through the gateway. "Whoosh," said Annie. She pushed the gate back. It shut with a clang. Through the bars, Jack saw the guards face the bridge again. "Good work," he said to Annie. "Thanks," she said. Jack and Annie then turned away from the gate. "Ooh," whispered Annie. "The other world," whispered Jack. Chapter 8. The Other World. The other world was completely different from the dark, cold world Jack and Annie had just left behind. They were standing at the edge of a pale green meadow. The meadow was bathed in warm, rosy sunlight. 3 horses, one black, one brown, one gray, were grazing nearby. On the hillside behind the meadow, red and purple flowers sparkled like bright buttons. "It's so nice here," said Annie. "Yeah," said Jack. "Maybe we won't need this anymore." He pulled the hood of the cloak off their heads. He was relieved to see Annie's face, and to see himself. "What was the first rhyme again?" said Annie. Jack took out his notebook. He found the first rhyme and read, "Beyond the iron gate, the keepers of the cauldron wait." He looked around warily. "I wonder where the keepers of the cauldron are," he said. "What do you mean?" said Annie. "We just sneaked past them, remember? Whoosh." "I don't know. The rhyme says beyond the iron gate. Those guards were standing in front of the iron gate. They weren't beyond it. "Shh," said Annie, "listen." From over the hill came the faint sounds of sweet, joyful music. "Maybe the keepers of the cauldron are playing that music," said Annie. "Maybe," said Jack. He listened for a moment and smiled. The music that made him feel light and happy. "Let's go meet the keepers," said Annie. "Not so fast," said Jack. "Shouldn't we be invisible again, just in case?" "I guess so," said Annie, sighing. He pulled the hood of the cloak over their heads. Together they started walking invisibly across the soft meadow. They passed the 3 horses and climbed the flower-covered hill. At the top, they looked down. "Oh, man," said Jack. The hill sloped gently down into a misty green glade. In the middle of the glade, a band of musicians played flutes and pipes, drums and violins. Around the band, hundreds of dancers danced in a large circle. "The keepers of the cauldron?" said Annie. Dancers and musicians were smiling and laughing. They wore blue coats and green coats, white gowns and yellow gowns. They wore sparkling red slippers and hats with colored feathers. The dancers looked like people, except they all had glittery gold skin and wings that shimmered in the mist like spun silver. "They're beautiful," said Annie. "Yeah, they are," said Jack. "I don't think we need to be invisible with them." "I think you're right," said Jack. He and Annie threw off the red cloak. They left it in the dewy grass and ran down the hill to the winged dancers. Dancers paid no attention to them. They just kept going round and around in their joyful circle. "I feel like dancing with them," said Annie. "Me too," said Jack. It was strange. He was usually shy about dancing, but he wanted to join this dance more than anything. Jack pulled off his backpack. As he set it down, he saw 3 swords lying in the grass. But he didn't stop to wonder about them. The music was calling. The winged dancers broke their circle and welcomed Jack and Annie into their dance. Annie held Jack's right hand as he grasped the slender golden hand of the dancer to his left. The dancer smiled down at him. Like the others, she was as tall as a grown-up, but she didn't have any lines or wrinkles on her face. All the dancers looked very young, yet they seemed ancient at the same time. As Jack danced around in circles, his heart leapt. His spirit soared. His glasses fell off, but he didn't care. He kept dancing. As he danced, everything in his mind became a blur. He forgot about Morgan and Camelot. He forgot about the quest for the water of memory and imagination. He forgot all his fears and worries. "Jack, look!" Annie cried. Jack looked at her. "Hi," he shouted, laughing. "No, don't look at me. Look there, across the circle." "I can't see," he said. "3 knights," Annie shouted. 3 knights dancing." "Great," Jack shouted. "No, Jack, they look awful. They look sick." She pulled away from the circle and tumbled back onto the grass. "Jack, stop dancing." But Jack didn't want to stop. He wanted to dance in the wild music forever, forever and ever and ever. Chapter 9, The Lost Knights. Annie chased Jack around the circle. "Stop, Jack," she cried, "stop." She grabbed his shirt and tried to pull him out of the circle. "Annie, let go, leave me alone." But Annie wouldn't let go. Finally she pulled so hard that Jack broke hands with the dancers and tumbled backwards onto the grass. The winged dancers didn't seem to take notice. They closed their circle and kept going round and round. "Why did you do that?" Jack said. "I was having fun." "Look at the knights," said Annie. "See them?" Jack couldn't see them. The world was spinning before his eyes. He ached to get back into the dance. "Here, I found your glasses. Put them on." Jack put his glasses on. He peered at the circle of dancers. He caught sight of armor glinting in the sunlight. He saw 3 knights dancing in a row. 2 of them looked very young, the third one much older. As they came closer, Jack saw their faces. All the joy of the music drained out of him. The knights looked tired and sick. Their hair and beards were long and scraggly. Their faces were bony and pale. Their eyes stared wildly, and their lips were frozen in ghostly smiles. "What's wrong with them?" asked Jack. "They can't stop dancing," said Annie. "They're dancing themselves to death." "They must be the lost knights from Camelot," said Jack. "We have to save them," said Annie. "Yeah," said Jack. He tried to clear his mind and think. "What about this? We get back in the dance, we take places between the dancers and the knights. Yes, then we can pull the knights out of the circle. Wait, what if I can't stop dancing again?" "Just don't let yourself get caught up in the music," said Annie. "You have to think about something else. Think about why we're here. Think about Morgan." "Okay, I'll try," said Jack. Jack and Annie crouched in the grass. They watched and waited as the knights danced closer and closer and closer. "Now," shouted Annie. Jack and Annie rushed forward. They broke into the circle on either side of the knights. As Jack started dancing, his feet seemed to fly to the beat of the drum. He felt a great wave of joy. His worries left him. "Now, Jack," cried Annie, "pull away." But Jack didn't want to pull away. The music rang in his ears. Nothing mattered except the dancing. "Jack, pull away now," Annie shouted. Jack shook his head, trying to shake off Annie's voice. "Morgan, Morgan," Annie yelled. The word Morgan made Jack stumble a bit in his dance. "Morgan, Morgan," shouted Annie. Jack stumbled again. Then he used all his might to stop himself from dancing. He let go of the dancer on his right and threw himself out of the dance, pulling the knight on his left with him. Annie and the other 2 knights tumbled back with them into the grass. Just as before, the dancers didn't seem to notice. They closed their circle and kept going, round and round, in their joyous, timeless dance. Okay, we will hopefully finish this one tomorrow.